Helluva Boss was kind of a surprise hit after Hazbin Hotel was already quite the surprise hit, and even other shows like Rick and Morty have discussed moving their release schedule in a way that more closely resembles that of Helluva Boss, with them talking about going to one episode every month instead of releasing week to week. And I think a lot of companies are starting to notice the potential of smaller shows that focus more on quality over quantity. And quality is something VivziePop has always cared about over quantity, it seems, with Helluva Boss being the most shining example of how the most popular entertainment can release such small episodes only here and there. Growing up, TV shows generally aired 22 episodes a year, with a few episodes airing week to week before 1 or 2 week gaps, and then a giant hiatus at the end of each season. Netflix started as a platform that just licensed existing shows you already loved, creating a one-stop place to binge-watch sitcoms and epic-long TV shows all in one sitting without constant DVD changes. When Netflix began to make its own content, it would do so with the entire seasons released at once, with the episodes longer than traditional TV episodes, making for one big long binge experience every time a new show or season was released. This seemed ideal for a while, and there is a great joy in just finding a new show you like and binging it entirely, but it came with a few issues. The first is that people began to burn out on it, because anytime you get into a show, it suddenly became this huge time sink just to understand the gist of it and get caught up with everyone else. An entire season released in one day meant you had to watch it as fast as possible to not just avoid spoilers for one episode, but for the entire season, as it could all get ruined by someone spoiling the ending for you. The second is that fans could not invest as much energy into the communities themselves that surrounded the shows. Because it was all released at once, there was only one chance in the entire year or so to discuss the new content with other people, and without updates or anything to look forward to, fans would get bored with the project. Traditional TV would only take a summer hiatus after 22 episodes a season, or a 9-month hiatus for a shorter show like the kinds Netflix tends to produce. But Netflix shows would require at least a full year before you'd get an update on these characters, later turning to twice a year with shows being released in volumes. This makes every show an instant and huge commitment still to sit through in order to enjoy the conversations with others before it quickly gets buried under other releases. Helluva Boss spaces out its episodes even more than just one per week like a lot of shows did in my childhood and some remnants of TV still do today, with them getting episodes out every 2 or so months at best and much longer gaps when things got worse. But save for the giant hiatus between season 1 and 2 caused by delays and technical issues, Helluva Boss found itself thriving during its breaks. Instead of releasing one story stretched across as many episodes as they can at one point the way Netflix does, Helluva Boss released one very dense short episode every few months. No one has to watch it right away to avoid spoilers for an entire season, and unlike with week-to-week shows, each episode was given time to be explored by its audience in several ways. The first is through its subtlety, something required because of its limited scope. They have a few episodes to work with, very spaced out already as we discussed, and they are short compared to typical cartoons. At least they used to be before they started getting longer and longer in season 2. Because of this, Helluva Boss has to put tiny details in the background wherever possible, and in the nuance of jokes used to help keep the conversation moving forward. This, combined with the real-life inspiration from mythology and demonology, makes Helluva Boss an experience that is explored and dissected by its fans, not just on channels here like Cartoon Universe. This allows for revelations to slowly be found for weeks after an episode airs, with entire communities sharing the information in different ways and imagining the bigger world surrounding the show because of it. Some critics complain, saying that people aren't supposed to have to go to creators to get specific background information that helps fill in the gaps, but I highly disagree. This is a critical tactic a lot of people use for modern online media, which naturally has more direct access to creators on the platforms that host them, allowing for a very different kind of relationship with the audience. These people complain about this because it's not the way TV worked when they were growing up, with there being no real way to interact with the creators of a TV show in the masses. But the fact that millions of people love to enjoy a cartoon with supplemental information outside of it proves that there's nothing wrong with it. Why should anyone, let alone millions of people, feel like they are doing something wrong for enjoying Helluva Boss and its expanded lore and information? It's okay to not like this either, but to use it as if the creator or the fans are somehow wrong is a bad faith take, something we see a lot of online where people are trying to stir up trouble, oftentimes just because they themselves are narcissists and complaining to get attention. This dynamic is something the show is more or less tailored around, as the show thrives off of only giving us a few pieces of the puzzle at a time, so each episode becomes its own mystery for us to unravel. Almost every episode has the Helluva Boss characters meeting an amazing iconic character, traveling to another ring of hell, or even meeting a grand royal demon that we've all been waiting for. Hazbin Hotel was designed to explore similar dynamics in the basic idea of hell we have as humans, a place where we go to suffer and be ruled over by demons. But Helluva Boss expands on that with 6 more rings, each with its own royalty and species and color theme. It creates an entirely secondary puzzle to the main story that we as fans get to put together along the way. This doesn't just entertain, but really teaches its audience how to think in a puzzle-solving way, using real-life history and mythology to do critical thinking. By dividing the world in such an organized way of rings, their sins, their colors, their species, and rulers, each episode allows for at least one really cool new detail that repaints hell as we currently know it. One big criticism Hazbin Hotel had is that there was too much red in it with its red sky, and with the expansion of the other rings, every episode of Helluva Boss gets its own color scheme, as even when we go to Earth, we get an escape from the red of the Pride Ring, which can also be shown in different shades. By focusing mostly on just one location in each episode, each gets its own distinct vibe and feeling, its own color theme that everything else gets to branch off of, making it also distinct from one another and making every episode stand out. Episode 8 was a Part 2 follow-up to Episode 7 at Aussies, but it makes so much sense as its own isolated episode because it immediately takes us away from the beautiful blues of the Lust Ring to the vibrant yellows of the Gluttony Ring, before we'll inevitably go to the emotional reds of Pride in the Season 2 premiere. Each episode becomes its own little seasonal treat released every few months, where we all get to hang out in some special new location, whether it's a ring of hell, a place on Earth, or even getting a glimpse of heaven and some of its people. It makes the characters and locations so distinct that when they do eventually return to these locations and people, it is like seeing an old friend again and being given a tour of a new part of their home. Now, I know as I say all of this, some viewers will be in the comments saying that they think VivziePop doesn't have quality or quantity, and that everything she does is wrong. These people will often disguise their comments as constructive criticism, even though they word it in a way that isn't just mean, but pompous, and often to prop themselves up as some sort of authority because of their experience, while also disregarding the experience of the actual successful creator of multiple shows with millions of fans worldwide. Unfortunately, an entire generation of consumers have been taught to do this by negative video essays that really just brainwashed people into hating things they already loved. The YouTubers themselves saw their clicks grow when they talk about something's flaws, and I've seen other YouTubers get criticized for not being critical enough of the shows they cover. This really emphasizes the toxic and negative aspect of the human ego, how these people essentially believe that their personal tastes are so great that it is some form of moral good that their opinions be boosted so everyone can hear them, especially the creator of the shows, and that anyone who gets in their way is just someone who can't handle criticism. I think it's time for us as a whole to stop thinking that we are supposed to be giving criticism in this way. Helluva Boss is a party every single episode. You literally don't have to pay for it, as it's funded by generous donors who enjoy the party as well as merchandise that people who love the party buy. You're still invited anyways, but would you go into a party and start complaining to the creator that the decorations aren't what you were expecting even though they look totally awesome? Probably not, because the people who actually enjoy it would just have their good time ruined. And at least no one would be surprised when that person was kicked out of the party, because if you don't like the party, why not just leave? But to most fans, even with theories and lore and hopes, whatever comes next is always a surprise. Helluva Boss was never fun for meeting expectations, but for how it exceeds them, with each episode taking some of the theories we have and putting them in new light for us to see that connects it to an even bigger and greater idea that we were not able to understand with the information we had thus far. But what do you guys think? Give me your peaceful comments down below, and I'll see you next time.